Stop. Like, seriously, stop. Stop making the single worst mistake in distance running. Because if your training ever feels brutally hard, if you're struggling in the last mile of every race or every workout, and you feel perpetually exhausted on your easy days, the problem isn't your motivation. The problem is your tempo run. And I guarantee you, you're running it 5 to 10 seconds, if not more, per mile too fast. I know this is counterintuitive, but running your tempos too hard doesn't just stall your fitness, it actively makes you slower. You're paying a heavy tax on your training schedule, wasting valuable energy and recovery time, and it's the single biggest reason your PRs have dried up. Today, I'm going to show it to you with science. I'm going to break it down with one of the core truths that Jack Daniels built his entire training system on. And I'm going to give you my training take on it and how I do it when I work with athletes, where I triangulate to figure out tempo. Using this, I've instantly fixed the training of like 90 to 95% of the runners that came to me. And if you nail this one, single training adjustment, you don't just get a little bit fitter, you unlock a new era of like relaxed, faster, and more controlled running. So let's fix this biggest lie. If you haven't followed along, I'm Brant Satchel. I'm the most reviewed coach on Team Run Run with over 100 5-star reviews. I've coached over 150 athletes to Boston qualifiers, more than 25 athletes to represent Canada, and my expertise spans high performance endurance coaching, the mental side of performance, and my job is to take you from grinding out miles to performing at your best. And so if you want to run fast, stay focused, and perform free, you're in the right place. So before we get into it, let's diagnose this crisis first, because I want to be brutally honest right now. We're talking about the symptoms of wasted effort. If you answer yes to any of these questions that I'm about to ask, these are actively burning through your training weeks, destroying your recovery, and risking injury for zero benefit. Your biggest training effort is secretly destroying your biggest weakness. First, do your tempo runs feel like a race level effort, forcing a dramatic finish? Second, do you dread tempo day because you know you'll have to recover for 2 solid days afterwards? After your interval sessions, your true speed work, they're lackluster or flat. Are your legs perpetually heavy, making it your easy runs feel like slow motion or a slog? Does your watch or app suggest your tempo and 5K pace are almost identical? Do you constantly question the meaning of comfortably hard because your tempos just feel, well, hard? Do you make consistent blow-ups in the last third of workouts and races a thing? Do you find your running form degrades significantly in the later stages of a tempo run, forcing you to tighten up and force it? If even one of those felt familiar, you're paying a hidden tax on your fitness. You're confusing maximal effort and optimal adaptation. And all this stems from one single widespread misunderstanding. People think that threshold is a test of pain tolerance, but threshold is actually controlled mastery. It is the fastest pace you can hold while still feeling crucially in control. And so your inner voice is screaming at you to stop. If that's the case, then you're hanging on by a thread. Or if you need 3 Advil afterward, it's not tempo, it's junk training. So let's talk about what Jack Daniels, the man who literally wrote the training Bible that most of us build our stuff out of, right? The modern grandfather of physiological training for running. He didn't just guess, he built it from decades of research with world-class athletes. He defined T-pace, or threshold, as the pace that you can sustain for a full hour in an all-out race. Again, 1 full hour, not 20 minutes, not until you get tired, not whatever the preset zone on your Garmin is. 1 hour. And this is the catastrophic error. Most North American runners take their 5K pace or their 10K pace, and they use that as a 3 or 4 minute tempo workout. And the problem is simple math. So unless you're absolutely elite, your 10K race pace is an effort that will likely sustain for 35 to 45 minutes maximum, right? So by definition, that makes it too fast for threshold training. If you're running 8:30 per mile for your tempo, but your current VDOT score or race performed fitness dictates you should be running 8:50 pace, you're missing the adaptation bucket completely. You're off by 20 seconds a mile. And that's a major difference that's going to cause you from plateauing and not PRing. Forgive me if you hated science class, but I'm going to go into the physiology here. But I'll keep it simple, I promise. Your body has 2 main goals during a workout. First, you need lactate to rise. And second, the key here is that you need the lactate to stabilize at a manageable level. This magical lactate steady state, where all the huge long-term gains happen: mitochondrial density, improved fat oxidation, and better lactate clearance. I told you I'd keep it simple. But if you run too fast and say you push 5, 10, 15 seconds a mile harder than your true threshold, your lactate spikes immediately. The concentration in your blood explodes. You've bypassed the entire steady state that you're trying to train. So you've switched pathways. You're now pushing a high anaerobic effort. You accumulate the acidity, you torch your glycogen stores, and your body hits the emergency brake. This is the junk training trap. It's too slow to maximize your VO2 max, your speed potential, and it's too fast to build lasting aerobic endurance. So the result, you're cooked, you're crispy, you're fried. Your training week is compromised, and you trained your ego, not your physiology. Okay, I told you that would be simple. I hope I didn't lose anybody with the physiology there. But I spoke about all that because I wanted to show you that when you live in the junk training zone, you get some catastrophic mistakes that happen that are going to all but guarantee slow racing and stalled progress. And the costs to you that you are unknowingly paying include system overload and CNS fatigue, so your central nervous system fatigued. That's going to give you those heavy, dead legs, poor sleep, reduced motivation. This means your easy runs become your moderate runs become your hard runs, and your body never enters the necessary recovery state. This is where most people lead to whatever influence, shill, hacked recovery modality. But it's not that you need that, you just need to train better. And so you end up sabotaging your long run. If you're a marathoner, all we're thinking about is the long run, right? And so if you destroy your glycogen capacity and you over fatigue your CNS, then your critical long run will feel like a shuffle. And the long run is the foundational piece for your half and marathon success. So if you compromise that foundation by getting crispy fried on your tempo, the entire pyramid of what you're trying to do collapses. You're literally making your runs pointless. Additionally, you get mechanical breakdown. So the goal of threshold is to teach your body efficiency, high pace with controlled, relaxed form. But when you push too hard, your form breaks, and almost instantly, shoulders rise, hands clench, stride shortens, and your impact forces increase. So you're essentially training yourself to run inefficiently when tired. You lose running economy, which seems to be one of the key metrics we find for distance abilities. So you have to accept this truth. Threshold isn't supposed to be heroic. It's supposed to be repeatable, sustainable, and predictable. If you dread it, it's wrong. If you've gotten this far, you might be wondering, how do I stop guessing on figuring out my tempo? And so I'm going to share with you the exact way that I use and work with my athletes. So I'll look at 3 to 4 kind of markers that line up so we can be a little bit more certain about you're running in the right tempo zone. So the first one is we'll use the Daniels VDOT pace calculator, right? So this is your mathematical starting point based on Daniel's work that he put in here. There's tables in here. I have a calculator. I'll leave the link in the description where you can get your VDOT as well. So basically we look at your last race, right? We put it into the calculator that I've linked below, and it gives you the scientifically backed by Daniel's threshold pace in minutes per mile, minutes per kilometer, however you want it. I want you to think of this as a ceiling, not a target. And so that's the first piece. The second one is we will use the heart rate. So threshold tends to fall to about 88 to 92% of your maximum heart rate. If you're constantly hitting 95% or higher, you're training max efforts, not endurance. So you're panicking. And so while heart rate can drift due to heat or hills, if you are seeing spikes on flat terrain, it's an undeniable signal that your effort is unsustainable. Keep your heart rate capped below the ceiling. The third marker, the most important one in the literature, honestly, is RPEs, or your rate of perceived exertion. This one is huge because it forces you to train your brain. This is one of the reasons why I don't like our modern watches where we're constantly having these buffers. If you learn to train your brain, you will figure out your efforts more appropriately. So the RPE, or rate of perceived exertion that we want to use for tempo, is about 7.5 to 8 on a 10-point scale. And so you must be able to hold a talk test, right? So you should be able to talk in short, broken phrases like, this is hard, or almost done, right? And so you shouldn't be gasping, grimacing, or mentally bargaining with yourself to survive the next mile. If you feel like you're hanging on, barely, you're probably out too fast. You must feel like you have one more gear that you could tap into if a bear was chasing you, let's say. Some people struggle with figuring out RPE, and that's fair. So one of the other ways we'll look at it is sustainable duration. So I'll ask my athletes the question of, could you do this for an hour? Remember, I referenced this before, right? That is what Daniels has described this as. And that might change day to day based on fatigue, terrain, weather, etc. But if you ask that question, that's a really good check-in point. And so you might not be doing, and I don't recommend you do 50, 60 minutes straight of tempo, but it's like, could I do that if I had to today? I wanted to take a moment and share like 2 of the biggest kind of wins that I've had, like changing this for athletes. And so I had a woman reach out to me. She wanted to break 2 hours in the half marathon. And so she came to me stuck at 2:05. Her tempo pace was 8:45 a mile. That seemed like it was only like 10 seconds, give or take, a mile slower than her 10K race pace. And so no wonder she was hitting that mile, right? I explained to her everything that, I've kind of explained to you today. And so, we educated, we worked together, and we slowed her down, right, to about 9:10, 9:12 a mile. So, pretty big, 25-second adjustment. And so she felt slow, but controlled. And at first she was like anxious. Oh, is this going to work? What are we going to do? But then all of a sudden, her long run started getting better. Her legs felt fresh for her training. Speed work felt better. 8 weeks later, she ran 1:58.5. So the secret wasn't running harder. It was simply just running smarter. The second one I want to share, because this one was really cool, was I had an athlete come to me. They kept burning out their marathon cycles and they kept trying to get their BQ, their Boston qualifier. And every training cycle ended the same way. By week 8, 9, burnt out, didn't want to train, body was broken down. And it was because he was treating everything like a high intensity workout. He wrecked his central nervous system. He corrected the tempo. We pushed the tempo downward. We moved him from an unsustainable 7-minute pace to a controlled 7:25 pace, I think, for him at the time, as we were trying to build him back up from some of that burnout. And so his long run stabilized, his recovery improved, and we were able to handle the volume required for him to go get his BQ. So remember, control, not consistent maximal effort. That's what unlocked this potential. So if you're somebody struggling with this, here's exactly what I would tell you to fix it. Don't wait till next month. You can do this on your very next workout. Aggressively slow down. Assume you're too fast and pull your pace back 15 to 20 seconds a mile. Start slow, build into it. If you like using heart rate, use a heart rate cap. Keep your heart rate locked at the low end of what your calculator says, especially during the first kind of half mile to 2 miles of the workout. If it spikes, your pace is too fast regardless of the mile split. Third, if you're trying to learn how to tempo properly, embrace broken tempos. So if that 3-mile tempo, 4-mile tempo, whatever it is, feels terrifying, do a broken session. 3 by 8 minutes, 3 by 10 minutes. Take a short recovery jog, maybe a minute, 75 seconds, 2 minutes in between, right? This will allow you to accumulate the essential time at the correct pace without the mental and physiological strain of overpacing. So remember, tempo isn't a badge of honor. Tempo is the most important workout in your week because it builds resilience and efficiency needed for distance racing. You have to go slow to get faster. I'm going to say it again. Slow down, get faster. It's really that simple. If you've made it this far and you want to use a calculator, I've included it in the description below. You can enter recent race data. You can enter your age for heart rate. It will pump out exactly what your paces should be for every type of workout, including tempo workouts. It will give you your heart rate, percentage of heart rate, RPE, zones, all the language. It's one of the best calculators I've seen. That's why I built it for my athletes. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe, send it to a friend or a training partner who could use the advice in this video, and let's make sure everybody can perform fast and train free and go set some PRs this year.